As it stands right now, Ross Atkins is still a part of the Blue Jays front office. We don't know for how long, but he did reveal a plan that he has for this offseason, and he's going to have some tough decisions to make alongside the rest of the front office. So we'll break that down and much more on this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And Ross Atkins revealed an offseason plan that is fairly detailed, and he has some contingency plans in place. He has a decision on this one. He has some say on these decisions that are going to happen for the Blue Jays here. But it's just really going to be about internal battles this offseason because the free agent class is not too loaded. There aren't many immediate options out there that can help the Blue Jays apart from some of the names that we mentioned, like Jorge Soler, like some other power hitters as well. But there are some internal options in the minor leagues that have had really good seasons that may have a chance to crack the big league roster come opening day. So, Nick, we're going to break this down as the episode rolls along here. But what do you have to say about Ross Atkins making these comments ahead of the offseason and ahead of Mark Shapiro talking tomorrow as well?
Yeah, if you watched a bit earlier today, Shapiro thinks big news, and Atkins is definitely on the hot seat to a degree. And it's kind of funny that, lost within that interview a few days ago. Atkins revealed some of the plans going forward, whether he's going to be the guy putting the plans in place. Run short. Before we get into the video, quick reminder, hit the subscribe button. About 73% of you guys are not subscribed. We're on the road to 10,000. Your support has been truly unbelievable. Now, Peter, let's get into what he said. So this was, again, kind of lost within the whole Ross Atkins disaster class interview / media day. He said he was asked about improving the Jays offense, and he said, despite a weak free agency class, like you mentioned, Peter, quote, I think the strongest lever for us to pull is countering how we're being attacked, helping the players that are here perform better. Now, we also had another screenshot, which is even more juicy, which we'll get into in a sec. But Peter, as bad as Ross Atkins' press conference was, I kind of agree with him here to a degree. In a year where the free agency market is not very good, you really need improvements from your internal guys, from Vladimir Guerrero Jr., like minor league guys aside, who we'll discuss in this video. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. needs to be better. George Springer needs to be better. Dalton Varsho needs to be better. And you can go on. Matt Chapman to a degree if he comes back. So, we discussed at the trade deadline that the best addition we could have made, aside from Jordan Hicks, who was phenomenal, was an improvement internally regarding our star players. And I think he hits the nail on the head here. Is critical as we've been of him. They need to help the players perform better, and hopefully that's done in a matter of firing or hitting coach, or at least changing the scenery, changing something with this team.
Yeah, well, that's what we called for heading into this season. We were calling for guys that underperformed in 2022 to step it up in 2023, and those guys that did underperform last year ended up taking another step back this season. I mean, we were all mad about Vladdy hitting 32 home runs or 34 home runs, whatever he hit in 2021 or 2022, sorry. And he hit even less this year. His batting average was lower. His on base percentage was lower. His OPS was lower. So all these guys that needed to take a step forward ended up taking a step back this year, and it ultimately cost them. The Jays had a great pitching staff, but it didn't matter because the offense at times looked very bad. And I mean, yeah, they do need those guys to step it up, and we're talking about the big three in George Springer, Bo Bichette, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Those three guys need to be the elite hitters that they're supposed to be, because they're only going to go as far as those three guys take them when it comes to the lineup, because there isn't that difference maker unless you get the top dog on the market, which is Jorge Soler and obviously Shohei Ohtani to a certain extent, but that's less likely. So yeah, the guys that are in house have to perform better, and we've called for it all season long. It's like we were all pissed off that Ross Atkins didn't make a move at the trade deadline to get an extra bat. But what was that ultimately going to change if Vladdy and Bo and Springer were just not hitting come playoff time? So that's what's ultimately got to happen once the season rolls around. And I think they will improve. I've been waiting for it now for a couple of years. I think this is the time. If they don't improve, then might be time to look into the mirror and maybe make some tough decisions if you're the Blue Jays front office.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree with what you said. And like we just said, there was no free agent or trade deadline moves really that we could have made. Tommy Pham, it wouldn't have changed a whole lot. He's helping the Diamondbacks very, very good. So it's a great trade for them. They wouldn't have helped us with how bad our offense was from the other guys. And He did touch on this though. Apologies for the blurry screenshot here. He said also mention the emergence of minor league guys like David Schneider, Ernie Clement, Nathan Lucas, Alan Roden, Addison Barger, and Aurelvis Martinez, who could all play into the 2024 Jays. But he also said sounds like they'll be active in the trade market for offense too. So Peter's basically three ways they can go about this offseason. They try to get one of the big, really the big 2 or 3 free agents, which is Shohei Ohtani, who's probably pretty unrealistic but possible. Cody Bellinger might be out of their price range, and Jorge Soler, who is kind of the guy I think they should be targeting. Could also go into the trade market. Who knows who's available as of right now? There's some whispers of Lars Nootbaar coming back into the trade rumor mill for the Blue Jays. He traded with the St. Louis Cardinals before with Jordan Hicks, and of course maybe it's some past years as well. I think that the key here is going to be the minor league guys, and as boring as that sounds, it's probably our best option and our best bet given the weak free agency class. And obviously last year's free agency class was pretty crazy. Unfortunately, this year's is much less exciting, and this is going to be the topic of the whole offseason until something crazy happens. So they'll probably make a promotion of these minor league guys, at least regarding their role, and they might also make a trade. I'm hoping they make one big splash like we've discussed, and you, Peter, at length with a power hitter, and then use these other guys to complement us. But Peter, I'm going to ask you a question here. We can have a little discussion before I wrap up the video. Of these minor league guys, and I'll narrow it down to the 3 most fairly common ones, and I think the ones that are the most likely to have an impact next season. We're talking about Ernie Clement, Addison Barger, Aurelvis Martinez. I have their stats here for you, but I'm just going to ask you, if you had to pick one to make the roster, who would you pick, and I guess why? And let us know in the comments your answer to that question as well, because it's probably going to come down to one of the guys. It could end up being 2, but I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are, Peter.
I think we got to include David Schneider
Yeah,
in that group as well, just because of the impact that he had this year. I wouldn't necessarily consider him a minor league guy. I think he's going to be a full-time major leaguer come next season. Yeah, so I think that's assumed. I think David Schneider has his place on this team, especially with Whit Merrifield on his way out, and maybe Espinal, maybe Biggio aren't cutting it anymore. But when it comes to those guys, I'm looking at 2 guys in particular, and it's Addison Barger and Aurelvis Martinez. I know that Aurelvis had a better season in the minor leagues last year. He's obviously the flashier prospect. He's got more power. He's got more potential. His ceiling is as high as they come when it comes to third base prospects. But Addison Barger, I think, has the lowest floor among the 2, and I think he's more major league ready. You saw his approach really take a step forward in 2022. He battled a lot of injuries this past season, but I think he's more ready than Aurelvis Martinez is, and that's another lefty bat that you're adding to the lineup. I wouldn't mind seeing Addison Barger play some third base for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's got a cannon of an arm. He's got a very powerful bat, and when I look at the possibility of him and Biggio, I prefer Barger's power potential, and I prefer his hitter profile and defensive profile a lot better as a third baseman, because that's what's going to be open next year. It's going to be third base, and who would you rather have there? A guy with big time pop and a cannon of an arm in Barger, or Kevin Biggio, who doesn't hit for much power and doesn't have a fantastic arm either? So I don't know. I would lean Barger in that case. That would be the one guy I think could make the team.
Yeah, now there's a good chance that I think Biggio definitely probably starts maybe opening day, depending on the moves they make at second base might be a likely spot for him, because assuming Whit Merrifield walks, then it's between Espinal and Biggio. But I agree. I don't think Biggio is a long-term fit at third base. He doesn't have the defensive profile. He's a very solid second baseman. He did great this year, and he has lots of versatility. But we've also seen Addison Barger play the outfield, so he has a lot more versatility than Aurelvis Martinez does. If Aurelvis Martinez comes up, it's either most likely going to be third base or I guess maybe second base, but it won't be shortstop. And Aurelvis has an arm. That's one of his plus strengths. And looking at Aurelvis' stats here, you can see the home run power. He hit a lot of home runs. He had 28 home runs, 94 RBIs, crazy OPS. He really turned the season around, and he started the season very poorly. You have Addison Barger, and then we also have Ernie Clement, who, again, we love Ernie Clement. However, unfortunately, he might make the team. He might, end up making it. However, I think he might be more of a guy who comes up when people, get injured rather than be a staple. But he performed phenomenally. He had a 1 WAR, 380 average. Like, he did everything you could ask for. It's just in that weird spot where I believe he's a little bit older as well, 28 or 29. He's been around the league. So I think they're going to want to give players like Addison Barger and Aurelvis Martinez that run. The question is, who is it going to be? I think they might let Addison Barger, he ain't coming back from an injury. He wasn't looking great after his injury, so they might give him some more reps. And but it also depends on if they re-sign Matt Chapman, because this conversation could all not really matter if they ultimately re-sign Matt Chapman. That being said, Peter, I think if Aurelvis Martinez doesn't start opening day and they do re-sign someone or trade for someone at third base, he's probably our number one trade chip to upgrade elsewhere, because you need to either start playing him at some point this season or ship him somewhere while his value is high, because it's at peak value right now, maybe since 2021 when he was one of the top prospects, but he's in the top 100 prospect list. He's hitting for power. His eyes improved. His approach has improved. It's either, you start playing him at some point, maybe even a September call-up next year at the very least, or you trade him in the offseason for to fill a need, kind of like we did with the Varsho trade last year.
Yeah, I think he's the third baseman of the future for this team, though, and I truly am on that train for Relvis Martinez. So I just don't want to rush him to the major leagues. So that's why I'm going with Barger, who's an older prospect. He's 24 now. He's a guy that has a great approach, and in 2022, he was the best hitter in all minor league levels for the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, he had an OPS
About
nearing
900.
950.
Yeah.
He had, yeah, big time power. And I mean, he's a guy that is ready for the majors. And we saw him in spring training. He didn't look overmatched by that pitching. You know, he was there and he was making his presence felt as well. So I would lean towards Addison Barger to start the season. And then I think Aurelvis Martinez, you give him a little bit more time in AAA, let him be the guy down there, let him work on his approach even further, because he's only 21 years old. I don't think he's a trade chip. I think he's a part of the long-term solution for the Toronto Blue Jays. And I can't wait to see him get into major league action, but I don't want him to be rushed and struggle right away. And then his confidence goes down, and then you got to do a full 180 on his development. So I don't know. I think I want to see Barger to start the year, then Aurelvis Martinez as the year progresses, and maybe you move Barger to the outfield if he's performing well. But yeah, that's what I want to see.
I like that. Let us know your thoughts are in the comments. And like you said, very, very good 2022 Edison Berger, and then struggled a little bit towards the end after his injury. But that'll wrap up the video. Let us know who you guys want to the Jays to start the season with. I see a lot of mock lineups online with both Berger and Relvis Martinez. So if they don't make any moves, you might see Berger in the outfield, or Relvis Martinez at third base in a youth movement. But that'll wrap up the video. If you want to see our video from earlier today, there's some crazy stuff going on. So make sure to click your screen right now. And we'll have a lot of videos for you guys coming over the next couple days as Mark Shapiro goes ahead and speaks tomorrow. But thank you guys for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.